Madam Chair, I rise to report a polling was the telephone document.
Thank you very much. It is reported a cooling doors exists for the Regional Government Lands Ombudsman IEC Committee to commence business. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those not in favor say no. And seconded by
I seconded the motion.
with amendments. Thank you very much. Good afternoon to you all. Director, Community Development, and your able staff present, honorable members of this noble select committee, I call it, clerks, and our support staff from the research department. Good afternoon to you all. First of all, we have the agenda. I think you have it there. First of all, what we need to do, the first agenda item is to welcome you and to the National Assembly, and also the purpose of this meeting is a briefing session as a new committee operating in this.
Good afternoon, Mr. Fpac. I didn't know what it is. So,
Good afternoon, I am from the business outside.
Good afternoon, I am part of the political.
Yes.
Good afternoon to you all. My name is Fpac Giba, who is the community development.
Good afternoon to you all. It's when I take in my
The next agenda item, that is the statement from the chairperson of the committee. Yes, I want to use this opportunity on behalf of the committee to welcome you once again to our this median briefing session. The purpose of this meeting is just to have that interface briefing session. Committee responsible for local government lands and regional government, IEC. So for that being the case, we want to, at least engage all units or agencies or department under the ministry on committee sitting. Currently, we have about 12 members, but some of them are currently having a meeting. So this is why you don't have all of them here. So, but with time and with engagement, we will tend to, it's like, as far as this committee is concerned, we want to engage all of you as a department under the ministry so that we can all achieve our common goal, which is very important. When we have that department here, I think is a privilege, and to have you here so that at least we can work hand in hand to person or whatever you submit your budget through them. So that one also, I need to inform you that this time around there is a change wherein through the Fpac committee, which I am, so now because we realize that whenever budgets are submitted, at the end of the day, when it goes to finance normally the way they dispose budget is a little bit confusing, especially departments under a ministry. So it's like they keep operating blindly. That's how I can say it. Because if you have your program for a year and you don't have the required budget and you budgeted for it, so that means it compromises your activities. So for that being the case, what we've decided this time around is like all the budgets will be sent to Fpac committee, but at the same time, our committee also will be privy to it, so that we can also, negotiate the bilateral so that we can also defend you and as far as the budget is concerned. So for that being the case, whatever we do now, as far as budgets are concerned, we want finance to highlight like budget line for each department. So now coming from there, going down from the ministry, I think the best thing, they also try to do that so that you can know. But sometimes I think the challenges that normally happens based on what we observe is like the monthly allocation is always challenging. So on that note, honorable members, as we all know, it is the select committee, and whenever they call you, you should try by all means to come and respond. It's not about any other thing, but it's all about working together to make a standard so that people can understand and know our role as a National Assembly member and also to perform our oversight functions. So on that note, I thank you very much for coming, and also I hope that we will work together in harmony and with all the stakeholders involved, because I know as far as community development is concerned, they have offices in all the regions. In KMC, which I know, they have an office which they host all them. So, and we cannot go as National Assembly members, even though our core mandates are on certain. But at the end of the day, the culture of Gambian people is they want to see development. Whatever we do here is all about development. So on that note, we want to thank you and want to hear from you the status of your department, some of the achievement rather, challenges, and your plans as far as community development is concerned. As we know, when you go out there, so many communities are out there without clean water. What can we do to get them clean water? What can we do to get them a good road? Even though we don't, but like the little resources available, what can we do to make it happen? So these are all things that I think we will discuss. But now I will allow the director to give us.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, honorable members of this noble committee, my colleagues from the Department of Community Development. It's a pleasure for us to be here invited, like you said, as a department to come and showcase what we are doing as a department. So we have a presentation that we would want to project and so we will project what we are doing as a department. Like we said, we have a countrywide coverage, presence in all the 8 regional offices. We have 8 regional offices, including the Rural Development Institute, which is equally under the Department of Community Development. Okay, so like I said, I will start the introduction. The introduction, we will start, like we said, it's a department under the Ministry of Lands, Regional Government and Religious Affairs. We have 6 units under this department. We will come to know each of these units. Equally, 8 regional offices, meaning in each of these LGAs, we have a presence there, which includes the Community Development Officer we call CDO as the regional head, supported by the Assistant Community Development Officer, the Women's Program Supervisor at that level, and other support staff, which include driver, secretary, and cleaners. In terms of extension, like I said, we have a presence. We are present in almost all the ward, not all the ward, but our postings is based on wards, and we have 120 wards in the country. Currently, we have 73 extension workers posted at ward level. So meaning there are certain wards we don't have extension workers, but one in a closer ward will oversee the other. So the total number of extension workers who we call community development assistants are 73 as we speak in the country. The activities undertaken by the department are funded under two categories. Mainly government local funding, that is the annual government allocation that we receive through the estimate of government. Equally, we do have funding from projects and through signing of memorandum of understanding with other institutions to carry out certain specific assignments. These ones I want to explain, like the WFP, we do have contracts with them to carry out certain activities. For 2022, we signed a memorandum of understanding to do community participatory planning, to be able to develop action plans for each community to enable them identify their priorities which the WFP or other partners may be interested to support. We did this in 24 communities, mainly in CRR, North, South, North Bank, and LRR. LRR is only the three, CRR, North, South, and North Bank region. Equally, the IOM, in terms of capacity building, they have groups that they are supporting, the returnees. These are the illegal or the backway migrants that we help to form in groups so that we train them and they will give them support. The small ruminant project also under the Ministry of Agriculture, equally we had a memorandum of understanding to train their farmer society at the regional offices, at the regions in the whole country. These are specific assignments that we will. Equally, we have other projects that we will see as we go on. So the current activities carried out by the Department of Community Development in terms of the local fund that we receive from government is in terms of, we just picked the major ones, that is the infrastructural development, because currently we are renovating the main office of the department that is here at 13 Marina Parade. It's currently infrastructural rehabilitation work that is currently ongoing, including both electricity and some other plumbing job. The regional offices equally, this same budget line do take care of that. But last year we were able to do some rehabilitation at the Kama office. We have a regional office, a whole premises at the Kama, just behind, next to the clinic. We did some renovation work there. Equally, we have staff quarters in each of these regions, from North Bank to Basse, LRR. So equally, the same allocation do go into that. But as we speak, and like I said, this year, we are only able to focus on at the department because the structure was so dilapidating that, we really need to do. So we had an approved 1 million budget for this purpose. That is what we are using to do renovation. If you go there by now, you will be really impressed as to the structure a few months ago and now how it is. Again, the Rural Development Institute, we are currently doing a major renovation there. Thank God, last year we were able to get 5 million from the GLF, which we started with to do some renovation at the Rural Development Institute. Equally, that same 5 million, we got another 5 million for 2022, making it a 10 million. So we signed a contract of 10 million with a contractor where we follow the due process of the GPPA to be able to contact Bovis Construction to go and do that renovation at the Rural Development Institute. He has received 50, the first pay was 50% of the fund because the agreement was almost end of year. And if we did not pay him that amount, we were going to lose that money. So the other, we are currently working on his second 20% pay for him to be able to carry on the work. Equally, we have budget lines on training. The RDI is an institution where we have different, we will come to that. We have certificate course that they are running. Equally, they are running a higher national diploma in development studies. So the RDI is under the department. The budget line for DCD, that is the department, it's the same budget line that we cater for the Rural Development Institute. So the budget line for local training is the amount that we usually give as stipend to students undergoing the certificate course. This we call the National Integrated Certificate in Integrated Rural Development. So this year, we thank God, it is a bit above what we had last year, and we intend to equally support staff training locally from the balance. So, like I said, the training board caters for both RDI and our local staff training. The core department activities as a department, first is our mandate is to do institutional strengthening and capacity building. We are known for this as far as rural development or community development is concerned. Equally here, we do assessment and training of decentralized structures. This is the VDCs and WDCs. Before you train them, you need to do an assessment to establish the status, because some VDCs are established, but they are not established according to the Local Government Act. Some ward committees are established not according to the Local Government Act. In certain communities, you don't even have VDC in existence. So we first of all do assessment to establish the status before any training is recommended. If we have funding, we do good there. Equally, it's part of our mandate for the routine mentoring and coaching of those structures that I mentioned, including community-based organizations that we work with. We equally support them in terms of capacity building and other technical support. The department also supports associations such as the youth group, women interest groups, and other groups within the communities on various interest areas, such as we facilitate their registration with the Attorney General's Chamber by supporting in terms of constitutional development, and then equally carrying out management training so that they are able to manage if they get any support. How do they perform as a group? How do they work with other institutions here and there? As a department, if you go to the regions, we equally have this mandate of coordinating the technical advisory committees, which are usually chaired by the regional governors. DCD regional offices, the CDOs, are usually secretaries to this committee, and they have the responsibility to serve as the secretariat for the task and the multidisciplinary facilitation teams. These are extension workers from various institutions, both NGOs and government institutions. We coordinate the activities at that level. The department, again, like I said, our core mandate includes women's program. Since the inception of the department, there is always this component or this unit called the women's program, where we do support women initiatives throughout the country, supporting them in terms of income generating skills, support. Equally, we support the multi-purpose centers operation and management placed in strategic locations to promote skills development and income generating activities among women around the centers. We had a project some years ago during the Second Republic, supported by the African Development Bank, which built 21 multipurpose centers across this country, which includes the Bakote, the Abuko, Njao, Wasu, Jende, and the rest. So we equally support these centers to be able to serve the purpose. We have committees responsible for the coordination or upkeep of the centers. We call them center management committees, to enable women or any other interested person to carry out skills development or any income generating activities as they wish. So the second, like I said, support women initiative through women program supervisors at regional office. Like I said previously, we have a women's program supervisor at the regional office. So any women group that wants to learn skills or want to do any type of women empowerment initiative, the staff responsible will always support those initiatives at that regional level. Networking and interagency collaboration as a department, it's a technical department which usually support many institutions, be it NGOs or government institutions, even development partners. We give technical support to other institutions and agencies in terms of community mobilization, which we are well known for, planning, capacity building, and the rest. Like, for instance, we had like I mentioned, the WFP. Those falls under this support because they are not present they don't have any presence in the region. So we will sign either memorandum of understanding and do certain things for them. Equally, you have certain organizations. For instance, this year I remember the National Council for Civic Education wanted to organize certain research work. They have to approach us because we have our CDAs at that communal level to be able to mobilize communities for them to go and carry out their activities. The Rural Development Institute is a training wing of the Department of Community Development, established since 1975 in Masembe. It started, and in 77 it moved to the Mansakonko, where we have the structure there. In 2019, 2021, there were 36 students who graduated. The formal graduation is not yet held because of the renovation work currently at the institute, but these people have already had their final exams and just awaiting formal graduation ceremony. Currently, we have 33 trainees, both male and female, who will be at the RDI from 2022 to 2024. This is a 2-year national certificate in Integrated Rural Development Institute. Equally, the institution offers higher national diploma in development studies, which is a 9-month program, mainly for extension workers and any other person who is interested in pursuing this course. So it started in 2015, and they have so far trained 240 CD, where our own staff, 50 of them benefited since 2015. The rest are other staff of other agencies or individuals who are interested to pursue this. Like I said, this program has been developed since 1983, been in plan for implementation, but it could not take effect until 2015. Thank God. Now we have the full program. Every 9 months, you have new batch of trainees at the RDI. Equally under the Rural Development Institute, they are working with the UTG, that's the University of the Gambia, to start a BSc in Sustainable Development and Climate Change. This initiative is supported by the EBA project because we are equally partners in implementing this project. A curriculum has already been developed and validated, so the course is supposed to even start this August, but we have some challenges. That's why it is not yet started. But inshallah, we are working very closely with the University of the Gambia to see to it that this program starts and keep running. The other activity, like I said, support to other institutions and partners. In 2018, we oriented under the RDI still, because equally as an institution, they do give helping hand or support or collaborate with other institutions in terms of capacity building as a training institution. So in 2018, they did an orientation of all the newly elected chairpersons and councillors of the local government authorities in the country on the Local Government Act in 5 LGA. These are the rural LGAs, starting from Kerewan, Mansa Konko, Kunta Ujendambure, and Basse. These were the these are the councils where we had this training, supported by the staff of the RDI. Equally, they do support individual councils in terms of proposal writing, concept note, or serve as resource person in partnership arrangement, including negotiations for partnership. This they have done with the Basse Area Council. They did this in collaboration with the Mamansakonko Area Council as well as Kuntawur Area Council. They equally support in simplifying the area council's strategic development plans, which was done in Basse Area Council, Mansakonko, Kerewan, and Kuntawur Area Council to enhance the popularization of the strategic plans and increase the level of implementation of the council strategic plans in general. This was a support from the Audited de Gambia, who supported the whole process together with the Rural Development Institute, because these strategic plans were supported by the United Nations Development Program. But as we all know, if we don't do some sort of popularization, people to know what type of strategic priorities does our councils have for them, they gather those in the drawers. So the initiative was initiated by the Audited de Gambia together with the Rural Development Institute. Equally supported in the provision of capacity building for GALGA. We know GALGA is the umbrella organization set up by all the area councils in this country, together with the Directorate of Governance and councils on resource mobilization, planning, and monitoring. These trainings were offered to senior staff of the area council, mainly the chief executive, the directors of planning, and the directors of finance at the area council. We have a unit called the Appropriate Technology Unit. This unit is responsible for the conceptualization, design, testing, developing, and dissemination of appropriate technology devices, particularly those for energy, labor saving, and environmental sanitation. The Furno Jambars, the improved pit ratings are all under this unit. We initiated all that, even this press brick, the press brick, are all activities or ventures or technologies that this unit initiate in this country for a very long time. Provide training on such technologies to youth and interested institutions, target beneficiaries. We will see in the report as we go on. For this year, that unit carried out training in all the regions of this country. The Climate Smart for Rural Water Sanitation Project had an agreement for this unit to train artisans on constructing VIP latrines. So this was done across the country, where youths were identified and the unit moved from one community to the other, dig these pit latrines, construct it together with those people to enhance their capacity, so that at the end of the day, we no longer have open defecation in these communities. So the major areas where we had those latrines are usually community places like schools, market, and other areas that the community themselves identify. Equally conduct renovation work for the office building and residence. The unit have both mason, carpenters, and other skill areas. So minor renovation work are usually done by the unit. We have another unit called the Development Communication Support Unit, housed at the Birkama Regional Office. They promote information exchange to promote positive social change via sustainable development, equally popularize DCD activities and other institutions. The unit was really very active in those days, but along the line, they lacked the necessary equipment to function as a unit, such as the camera and other digital equipment. But thank God this year, we received support from the United Nations Development Fund, who trained the staff posted, is currently on a 6 month training on communication and media and then equally support us in terms of equipment with a laptop, digital camera, and other gadgets to support his work. The unit also engage in programs in some of the FM stations on message dissemination on community development, especially in Birkama where they are. Currently, the officer, like I said, is undergoing a 6-month training with the support of the UNDP so that he is able to perform well and be able to use those gadgets that are given to him. We equally have special projects and programs that we run. Like I said, we don't only base our work on GLF, but we work with other development partners. We have this program that we call Sake Nole. We have, which is supported by UNICEF and UNDP, launched in 2018. It's mainly for capacity building of decentralized structures. Like I said, supported by UNICEF and UNDP in building the capacity of decentralized structures, which includes BDC, WDC, Modest Club, CCPCI, Community Child Protection Committees. This we establish in villages to be able to have parents or people to look after those children on the move. So there is a committee, a whole committee established with various stakeholders. The police, the immigration are all part of this committee to be on the watch on some of our youth that are on the run or are on the streets. So the program is also into 3 regions. We are implementing it in Lower River region, Sierra North, and then Upper River region. Like I said, it was launched in 2018. Part of the activities under this program is assessment of VDC and WDC. There was a consultancy that the program supported in LRR and URR to assess the status of VDCs and WDCs. The report was out and it was launched sometime last year. That follows the training of structures such as 15 WDCs were trained and 363 VDCs equally trained. The same program, Sake Nole, supported the review of policies such as the Local Government Act is still under this program, the Finance and Audit Act, the Community Development Policy, and the Multidisciplinary Facilitation Policy, which were initially drafted but not completed. So this same program supported in finalizing those policies. Children on the move. We established 145, like I said, community child protection committees across the country, conduct routine mentoring and coaching of these structures by the field workers. These are CDEs on monthly basis or on regular basis as the need arises. They do visit those committees to ensure that they are functional, they are doing what they are expected to do, and any other support that they may require or offer them. Equally, under the Sake Nole, UNICEF supported us during the COVID pandemic to train religious leaders on COVID-19 prevention through the Supreme Islamic Council and the Christian Council. What happened was we conducted together with the, what's the name of Njai's unit? Health Promotion Unit. Together with them, we carried out TOT, where we trained trainers to go into the region. Each region, they train the Islamic Council, imams, and equally pastors and fathers throughout the country on COVID-19 prevention. This we did together with that unit, equally with the Social Welfare Department. We are also in partnership implementing Climate Smart Rural Waste Project under the Ministry of Water Resources. We as a department are responsible for coordinating the sanitation component, where, like I said, we currently train 266 artisans on this VIP construction to discourage open defecation in communities where you have low presence of toilets or sanitary facilities. Equally, like I said, during those trainings, 16 improved latrines in 16 training locations were constructed. So this number were trained to do these pit latrines in their various communities. The Department of Community Development is equally partnering with NANA and Social Welfare Department to implement the social safety net project we call NAFA in short, to be able to allow every other person to pronounce, but the actual name of the project is National Social Safety Net Project. We are an implementing partner in the project, responsible for social mobilization as our core mandate in the project, and then equally the head of both our regional heads and at the regional level and ward level. We have what we call GRM committees. These are grievance redress mechanism committees where people will voice out whatever they see not satisfying, or if they have any questions with regards to the project, they will use these structures to communicate those information or ask questions. So the DCD regional officers serve as the GRM focal person at the regional level. Equally, we have our CDAs who oversee the village committee GRM. DCD is equally in charge of the financial literacy, where beneficiaries are given training on their identified skills and business area. The NAFA program has a component which is NAFA, including the cash transfer that we give every 2 months to selected poor beneficiaries. We call them the extreme poor. Equally, there is another component called this SBCC, Social Behavior Communication Change, where we train IPC. These are network of VSGs and CCPCs or Kanyelem groups, where we train them on about 8 models as to how do we eradicate poverty and how do we change behaviors to be able to develop this country as a whole. So it's about 8 models. One of them is financial literacy that the DCD led in the development of that model, and we are in charge of that. The program for accelerated community development under the office of the president, you have the unit, I don't know the name very well.
DCD?
No, the unit on the yes, Department of Strategic Planning, Policy, and I don't know. Yes, and all what it takes. So they are implementing this program, and DCD is equally partnering. We call the program for Accelerated Community Development, in charge of the labor saving devices aspect of the food security component. The government, in collaboration with the UNDP, supported communities in terms of labor saving tractors, milling machines, and stuff like. So we are equally partnering in that aspect. Distributed 38 labor saving devices to 38 communities across the country, 19 tractors, 2 power tillers, and 17 milling machines. So we were responsible to train committees, because the agreement was some of these items where I mark for groups, but some are for community. So those that I mark where I mark for communities, we train the VDC to be able to establish a committee that will look after the operations of this equipment. And then those that are for groups, we equally train them to establish management committees to look after the implementation or their activities and for sustainability purposes. So we are a key partner in this. The 5th program or project is the Small Ruminant Production Enhancement Project, which I named in the previous slides. The project support the project to implement areas the department have comparative advantage. Like currently, we have our team in the regions, North Bank, Sierra, North and South, training the National Livestock Associations on governance and other important topics of interest. So 180 were trained as far as the national level association is concerned. 300 training the small ruminant feeders and fatteners on good governance currently ongoing in the field. These are the regional offices. The first training targeted the national level association, while this one is the step down to the regional associations on good governance and some other very important topics. The job skills and finance. This is a project supported by the EU through the UNCDF, and the Department of Community Development is the implementing agency under the Ministry of Lands, Regional Government and Religious Affairs. It's at the tune of 15 million euros, which started in 2018-19 when the project was launched in LRR and North Bank region. Equally, as we go on every cycle, we replicated the project in CRR North and CRR South. The program, like I said, is implemented through the World Development Committees because it has been identified as the closest aggregate of local government entity with a planning function. What usually happens is the wards are selected at the council level through raffle. So each ward that is lucky to come out, the extension service will help the ward to identify priority activities or priority projects. Then they will meet as a ward to do that planning process, have it validated at the ward and endorsed by the ward committee. Then will be sent to the regional office where we have a regional committee equally who will vet all the projects from the different wards. If they are satisfied, they will equally endorse them. There is a national technical committee at the national level here, chaired by the permanent secretary of our ministry and other key implementing or stakeholders who will equally be presented with all these ward projects. If we are equally in agreement or are satisfied, we will endorse and send to the UNCDF. They have an office here who will forward it to their main office for final approval. Funds are sent to the central bank where the account is held at the accountant general's department. They control the account. But when funds are lodged, we will be informed as a department because we are the key implementing partner. We will write to the accountant general asking him to transfer the funds to the ward. Each of the wards have an account they open with Reliance. Reliance Financial Services and QCell were identified by UNCDF as the main agents for the transfer of funds. So AGD will give directions based on the list that we give them for the central bank to transfer those funds to Reliance. Reliance will in turn distribute it according to the wards into their account. So the councillor and ward committees will now be withdrawing. The CEO of the area councils are signatories, plus 2 other ward committee members, including the councillor and any other person are signatories to this account. So based on their arrangement, they will be withdrawing. They have the sole responsibility to identify their contractors. If it is a borehole, the extension service will give them all the support to follow GPPA procedures, because before we start implementing any program, we will invite the accountant general's department and GPPA to go and do training. They will train the extension service as far as financial management is concerned in terms of maintaining cash book, preparing bank reconciliation, bank statements here and there. Then the GPPA will equally enlighten or train them for the GPPA procedures as to how you give out contracts and how you follow right procedures to buy or do any procurement. So these ward committees will follow due process, identify contractors, and they equally be withdrawing. So the target is 32 wards. Like I said, in the 4 HGAs, each ward is 8 wards that we are intervening. It started in LRR and North Bank, where we started with 4 wards per region. The next cycle, we expanded to CRR, and currently we are running the second to last cycle of projects in 32 wards, where they will identify their projects and they implement. The current budget for those wards is 38 million plus, which we have already distributed to 32 wards across the 4 LGAs. The key outcome is sustainable and equal economic employment opportunities created for youth and women through Cash for Work initiative. We do encourage, and it's an underlying principle that we cannot avoid. Each of the wards, if you identify a lead consultant or contractor, the community people, especially women and youth, who are the main focus of this project, are hired to do the labor and unskilled, both the skilled and unskilled labor in the community. Instead of the contractor bringing his or her own people, the community themselves would work, and they are paid daily wages of $200 for the unskilled labor and $350 for skilled labor. For the past project, we do have some obstacle or challenges because the 200 for many youths is too small. So sometimes we have only women, implementing these activities or carrying out these activities. But it has been increased so that we meet the market rate. In the first and second years of implementation, 2020 and 2021, due to the COVID, we had some delay, so it started in 2020. 20 wards had created a total of 1,406 temporal jobs for both youth and women, because on a daily basis we pay you. So it is Q Money and Reliance that they will go, each of them will open an account with Q Money and Reliance, and the monies are paid, because equally we want to encourage local economic development. We don't want to give them money cash like that and they spend it all. So the issue of banking equally not handling a huge cash is discouraged, so that we encourage them to have this account. The major challenge is many people in the rural areas don't have ID card. So they will register for the job. When it comes to payment, they cannot access their monies. So they will forget that this was a requirement, and we have been telling them, we will tell them, if you don't have ID card, it will be very difficult, but they will still register, and when they don't receive their monies, they will start complaining. But to be honest, that's a major challenge. I don't know what the National Assembly can do for Gambians to have ID cards.
Yeah, the thing is, I think it's about access, because the ID card outlets are just few, limited.
In the rural area.
So the rural areas, I don't think they are catered for.
They have at the regional.
They have. So I don't know, because maybe
Some will complain about cost. Yes. So in fact, the initial cycles, we allow them to receive their first pay so that they go and get ID card. But when they get those post pay, they never get ID card. Yes. So it was a real problem. It was a real problem before we get those issues addressed. But thank God, during the first and second cycle, these were the number of temporal jobs that we created, and we do encourage them to do some investment to be able to develop our local economy. Equally, we are in partnership with Helping Hand Foundation. This is a Belgian organization where on annual basis it used to be, but because of the COVID, I think the last one was held when Usman. The challenge.
I think the chair should be able to remember. I should be
The chair is equally a key partner in this. So, okay.
I would encourage my members to take note of this one.
Okay.
Yes.
So in 2017, the department signed an MOU with the Above Foundation based in Belgium to implement annual resource mobilization and support in implementation of community initiatives in the Gambia in areas such as water supply, construction of maternity wards, classrooms, renovation, both construction and renovation, provision of community and health facility, ambulances, medical equipment, and vehicles in terms of transportation. So usually they come here as a challenge on an annual basis. They drive from Belgium to the Gambia, and those vehicles are auctioned at the stadium. At the end of the day, the DCD facilitate the issue of application for communities to identify their projects. So those projects or applications are sent to them in Belgium. They will put it on their web. So anybody who is interested in any of the areas, they will choose and they will drive up to here. If the vehicles are sold or auctioned, then the fund is used to support those initiatives at the current. So this year, after the COVID, since 2020, we are expecting them in October, inshallah. And we would need your support and your presence during their welcoming, which we usually do at the Arch 22.
Are they coming this year?
Yes, they will be arriving here around the 21st.
Yeah.
Yes, of October, inshallah. And the auctioning will be 23rd at the stadium, Independence Stadium. We are working on the arrangement so far, so you will get your invitation, inshallah. The challenges as a department is inadequate funding for the department. We used to have what we call a development vote. As a department, we cannot do many or much in terms of development like projects type because we don't have any budget line as we speak for development. So we rely on development partners to be able to implement projects. Otherwise, there is no development work to do any development work. This is a major problem. Equally, the department's budget line is used to cater for 8 regional offices, the main office and RDI, which is a whole institution of its own. So we are usually challenged in terms of budget line. 200,000 given as furniture. What do we buy to cater for all these offices? So it's really inadequate. RDI, what we are looking forward with your support is to have it as a unit under the Ministry of Lands as a training wing so that they have their own budget line. At least DCD can equally manage the little they have for other activities. If you look at our training vote, like I said, this training vote of 500,000, and if you have 36 or 33 students, every month you give them a $1,000 stipend. Every month, $1,000 stipend for the 2 years, or even for a year, for instance. That's almost 400 plus thousand. So we are virtually left with nothing in terms of training for our local staff development. Yes, a stipend. And this stipend, this $1,000, is what these students or trainees will use to cater for their feeding. WFP used to support the RDI in those good days, but now, all those support are no more. So it's only out of this 1,000, I don't know, is it 800 that they will contribute for their daily feeding?
800 out of the $1,000.
Out of the $1,000, and they are accommodated at the school. Yes. So the department will buy the electricity and some other things, but they are feeding. I think this is really, even the $1,000 is small, but the DCD cannot also increase because of the amount they usually give us. It's just this year that we had I think it's 1.2 million, but at the start of the year, in the approved estimate, we had this figure, 1.something million. But the first itemized that we printed had the same approved. The second itemized had about 700,000 less
For the school.
for the training vote, which includes the training, that the support that we give to the trainees at the RDI. What happened was, it was an inputting error that we followed the Ministry of about 9 of our budget lines suffered the same. The renovation of facility was 1 million. The itemized keep showing us 500,000. So that even delays our renovation. It's just this month that we were able to get back those funds from the Ministry of Finance, because it's an inputting error, and the staff concerned did not want to admit that it's an error that he did not do. So we keep following up, but thank God this month we were able to get that. But to be honest, the department needs support in terms of development. The VDCs are on the area council, but we have the mandate to strengthen them in terms of training. If we don't have any development board, we cannot do that. Equally, we have during our work, we do collab, we do work with communities, and we see that they need A, B, C, and D. We cannot support any development project as a department because we don't have the vote anymore. Inadequate fuel supply to effectively cater for the different layers. Like I said, we are allocated funds to cater for RDI, and RDI in the trainees will stay 2 years, and then every year they have to go to the field on 3 months practical so that they learn the practical community development work. We have to fund in terms of work to facilitate their movement. Each of the regional offices with the 73 CDAs on monthly basis, we have to give them fuel. So it's absolutely very, very difficult. Each CDA is giving $500 fuel for a month.
For a full month.
Yes.
With a motorbike.
With a motorbike. This is what we can afford out of our fuel allocation. Yes. Yes.
That's less than
How much?
500.
It's monthly.
Yeah.
Do you and these people use this for this long distance they cover?
Mhm.
It works.
Yes.
500.
Yes.
They also their own money.
Because we don't have much to offer. Yes.
So that is that 500 determined by the department or
It's the department. Because if I have the allocation, I will divide. We give 8,000 worth of fuel to each regional office. So based on the number of CDAs you have, you will give 500. The balance, the CDO who has a vehicle at the regional office will use.
And that will not be enough.
It's not enough. It's not enough.
For
So, yes. So equally, no direct funding to support the appropriate technology unit activities. Now this unit is very dormant, and to be honest, it should be reactivated. It should be supported to ensure that they serve the purpose. Train young people on various technologies. We have these labs that people use to
on their compound?
yes, on their compound. TCD is one of the champion of this lab. Our unit at the Birkama can do it very well, but currently they don't have the machine for the press.
Lab.
Yes, the machine to do the press briefs,
slabs.
slabs, and even the red press brief. They lack the machine.
Where is that located?
Birkama,
They make it there.
yes,
Become where?
at the regional office after the health center.
I should be visiting this place.
Around IC.
Around IEC, where it's opposite health. Is it IEC,
Yes.
the regional IEC office?
I see.
Yes,
Become.
Birkama. You use the health center road immediately after the health center. That's the next compound you have. Fence with the red press bricks. Yes, that's the Birkama office. So we need real support to be able to get them the necessary equipment to do certain activities.
And you can
Equal.
put this in your budget, right?
Yes,
You should put it there.
yes. Then provide direct funding for capacity development of the decentralized structures. Like I said, sorry. The last one is the last challenge is no direct funding for capacity development for decentralized structures. You go to area councils where these structures are, they will tell you they don't have money. They have the capacity to train, but if we don't have money, because you cannot gather people for training for a whole day, you don't cook for them. The CDA, like I said, they have inadequate fuel supply. They cannot be moving from their station to villages at times very far from where they are posted to be going and coming without fuel. So these are some of the challenges we are facing as a department. And the way forward, these are our suggestions, is for increase in terms of subvention, or even have RDI as a unit, and so that they have their full-fledged budget lines as any other department to be able to run the institution effectively. Equally, if we can have the budget line for fuel to be increased to cater for the different units and staff, provide direct funding to support the appropriate technology unit, and then the funding for capacity building for decentralized structures. As a government, if we really want to decentralize, as we commit ourselves since 2002 up to date, we really need to do something. We really need to help area councils to capacitize them to have the capacity to absorb the resources, the functions, and all responsibilities. Equally, these decentralized structures are the pillars to the area council. If we don't have strong BDCs, we don't have strong ward development committees, then decentralization cannot take effect, and it will be not meaningful in this country. So as a as assembly, I really want to urge you to remind government that unless we decentralize, it's going to be very difficult for this nation to move forward. We have to give power to those at the grassroots level to be able to do their own development. This UNCDF project, the JSF project, the job skills, is a clear manifestation and test for the decentralized, because this is what we are looking forward to. Government, instead of Ministry of Education, going to the regions to build schools, give it to the world to build school wherever you want them to build school with the appropriate support. You want to dig a borehole, you want to Department of Water Resources, instead of looking or hiring contractors at the national level, it should be done at that level. We need to really capacitize them. So it's very important that we have these structures, and it has really come out very clear in the recent concluded tour of our new honorable minister. Everywhere we go, the BDCs will cry that yes, there are problems related to their activity, but it's all due to lack of ignorance. They don't know their jobs. So if you don't know your job, you go into somebody else's job or domain. So we need training for them. Our development partners, UNICEF and UNDP, the whole of this year we could not get any support. UNICEF diverted their funds since the last quarter of 2020 to this polio campaign, and we could not get any support in terms of training. Equally, the UNDP is not supporting in terms of BDC training. So it's government has to really see what they can do on their own, so that development partners equally can be encouraged to support them. So on that note, I want to thank you all for your kind attention, and may allow my colleagues, if they have anything that I have left out, to support, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I think you said it all. Unless maybe if they want to
Yes,
say
support.
something.
Yes, please.
Basically, I think we will definitely commend you for all the effort and the achievement that you made. Development starts from the grassroots level. Whatever we do here has to come from the grassroots. That is the bottom-up approach. So if those people are not capacitized, it's always a problem. So, and one thing I like, one of the projects you mentioned, the project that created 1,406.
Yes.
I think
Job skills and finance.
that's a very good way of trying to get these people, as you said, when there is a contract of construction, let them use the resources, the human resources,
At the grassroots.
available within that area, so that they can feel sense of belonging, and it will also
Ownership.
motivate them to feel ownership of the project. And it will not cost them, it will not even cost government that much. But all the time we want to give it out on contract basis. So thank you very much for that briefing, and it's very detailed. And to the members of this committee, I think you heard about it, and about the challenge also. I can definitely attest and confirm that definitely there is a very big achievement that Department of Community Development is doing. Or it needs a lot of work, So, and my brother there, Shonko, he has been very, active in that, and they've been supporting a lot of projects in the Gambia, which I can attest because I benefited from them, and also I supported by, at least purchasing a vehicle project, 2 project vehicle, and also through that project, I was able to provide an ambulance for a community. So this is why I am telling you should take note of this. The Department of Community Development, they are very resourceful and they are very useful. They can definitely help us to get some certain things, at our constituency level. Yes. So I think I can just throw the baton to the. Oh, Mr. Sonko, you want to add something?
Yes, I just want to say that thank you, Padu, and we also want to use this opportunity to thank the National Assembly Select Committee, local governance, and all other institutions. 2 years ago, through the same committee, for the first time, we were able to secure subvention to our people. That's the same subvention we are using in the renovation. I remember when this was suggested to finance in the draft at the 11 hour it was delivered. Personally, we have to talk to our colleagues in the National Assembly, do some politicking, and they promised us that finance will return it. And finally, it was returned. I remember speaking to few National Assembly members few hours before the final budget presentation. They forced finance to put this into the final budget. And because of that, today we are realizing a lot of improvements in terms of the infrastructure. Again, the same resource constraints by the department could not give us the opportunity to place in each ward a CDA. In the director's presentation, he indicated that currently we have 73 CDAs and we have 120 wards. And going by the Local Government Act, what is recommended is to have a community development assistant in each ward. So meaning we have a staff shortage of 47 CDAs at the level of wards, right? Just from URR with the Honorable Minister of Lands, the CDO in URR indicated that URR has 14 wards, but currently there are only 7 CDAs in the whole of the region. So that indicates the acute shortage of extension workers at community level. And luckily, 2 years ago, I wrote my thesis on staff motivation and retention in the Department of Community Development. I realized that almost 4 out of 10 DCD staffs, upon acquiring certain level of qualification, DCD can no longer attract and maintain them because of their level of skills, exposure, and connections, and compared to the pay that they normally receive. So they are subjected to go to other departments, chiefly the UN agencies, because DCD is a technical department. After serving this institution for a few years with certain level of qualification, it's difficult sometimes to ignore other opportunities. So one of my recommendations in that thesis was we need to reposition the department to have its own fiduciary status and to be able to meet its obligations. Because if you look at 90% of what we are doing is not just through government allocations, but it's through partners. So sometimes we normally argue among ourselves that what do we do within our core mandate that is not funded by partners? So there is a need to reorganize the department such that we will have that level of fiduciary status and be able to meet our obligations. Of course, government is also seeing that partners are coming to do what Department of Community Development is doing. And this is making them lazy to commit taxpayers' money to our own development. And we cannot continue to depend on outsiders for the development of our country. There is this saying in Mandinka that, so we need to start looking at how do we improve resource allocation into typical community development process. This will help, especially politicians, to fulfill their expectations. Certainly before the last local government election, when I listened to some councillors' manifestos, sometimes I ask myself, are these people vying for a position of presidency? Because they made a lot of promises.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I will ask myself, where will the funding come? So more of what we do today is through partners. But from our government local funds, it's not even enough to give us fuel to do our continuous work. So I think as lawmakers, you need to look at this. Of course, government has challenges, but we also have to prioritize the development of our people. Because government everywhere is meant to make life better for its citizens. Therefore, development is no longer a charity work. It's rights of people that wherever they live in this country, they should be able to feel that at least they have a government that is looking after them. This will definitely help us in ensuring that we are able to meet our obligations. Because community development is one of those few technical departments. Imagine, since 1975, this department has been created. But you look at the imagining public institutions that were created less than 10 years ago, they are doing better than us, not because we don't have capacity, but because the way they were structured, today they can respond more easily to the needs of citizens than community development. One of those institutions is NANA, food safety, and even NDMA. If you look at these institutions, they have their own accounting and financial structures. Their directors or executive directors, depending on how you call them. Apart from them, you also have other line directors under them. They are more organized in terms of accessing funds, even from government and from other partners, and they are able to deliver on their promises better than us. Not because we don't have the capacity, but because the way we are organized. Today, most of us working with the Department of Community Development, our friends are asking us, what are you still doing? Mm-hmm. Look at, based on your experience, your qualifications, how much are you paid? Apart from that, to get significant funding to be able to do our everyday work is more frustrating than any other thing. So at some point, we are almost outliving our purpose. So we need that repositioning to be able to better respond. We are currently implementing a project with NANA, but NANA is almost taking the chunk of the credit because they are more organized in terms of having their own fiduciary status. Apart from the executive director, you have different lines of directors, including director of finance. So whatever belongs to them at the level of government, they can easily access it and they can easily be recognized as others, and then others can even trust them to give them their resources. Even though it's a public institution, but in terms of governance structures, they are more strategically organized to be able to trap external funding. Go to our regions. The community development officers are the secretaries to tax, right? If we are better organized, these regional officers should have been regional directors by now to be able to support the decentralization process. But you look at community development officers and their peers at regional level, even though they are very technical, very experienced, very skillful, but they are on grade 8. You cannot compare them to the regional director of agriculture, regional director of education, health, even DLS, that is Department of Livestock Services, have been reorganized. And at regional level, they have regional directors. So sometime, I remember when Fatu finished her master's degree, almost 5 years, she was still on her grade 6. There was no job opening at the top where she could be promoted to at least grade 10. Thank you. Most of our colleagues, when they finish University of the Gambia, they end up resigning because there are no positions that they could be promoted to grades that will commensurate to their qualification. So, in my opinion, as a community development practitioner, as a trainer, coming from public administration background, I think we need to start thinking of transforming the position of Director of Community Development into Director General. Then we have a line of directors under it, including the regional directorates at regional level, to be able to support the decentralization process and to be also be able to attract and maintain staffs after finishing certain training. Anytime 4 people graduate at once from the University of Gambia with first degree, we will lose 2 of them because we will not be able to promote them to even grade 8, and then they will end up leaving. So every year we are training, but at the end of the day, we cannot even maintain people because sometimes they have every reason to go. I went to school with him. After all the struggle, he is promoted on grade 8. I'm still struggling on grade 6. So some people can stand for it, but others cannot stand for it. So all these things also will require some support from this honorable committee. Otherwise, at some point, I wonder whether we'll be able to maintain the required experts that we need to be able to push the agenda of community development. So this is where I want to stop.
Oh, let me just add little to what he said. Yes, thank you very much, honorable members of parliament. It has been a pleasure meeting you people here. And then I hope, based on what had been delivered before you, you've now understand as to how we are called the main interface between the people and government. Because you have seen our intervention across the country, in all districts. But what I want to say, as he had already highlighted, about the decentralization process, it is very true that if you want to make the community development very, very effective, to be operating in this country for the interest of the people, we need to be decentralized. Because if you look at decentralization, is that there is no government institution suitable enough to spearhead that in this country more than community development. So why are we left behind if others are already decentralized? So it does not make enough sense to us. So it is incumbent on you as National Assembly members to help us get out of this mess. Because the better we are able to prepare outside there in the communities, as he rightly said, it is better for you people, for your people to understand that there is something taking place with the help of you people. Because our mandate is to bring grassroots development to the people. And that grassroots development cannot be brought to people without giving us power. You need to empower us for us to be able to domesticate the development of or the development affairs of this country. That is very, very key. Because if you look at what government is giving out, is in another sense retiring our efforts to doing things that is expected of us or that are expected of us. And then, as we all know, there is no government in this country or world that can solve the problems of its citizens entirely. Fine, but there must be job openings, there must be chances, there must be opportunities that can make people self-reliant. And that is not easily done if government is not heavily involved in the development affairs of its own country. So I think government needs to see this thing. Most of you people may be development oriented, but those people at the top there, you need to educate them. You need to sensitize them because they may not be okay with how development is done outside there. And we are doing everything to the credit of this nation and to the government and the people of this country. Because if you look at the women program that we have, yes, it has skills, but it concentrated on mainly livelihood skills. And that also is a recipe for developing our MSEs, small medium enterprises for women and for the youth. You see, it will help elevate them from one point to another. With required knowledge, required skills, they can do some things that they can also gain some income from. And the director has already spoken or talked about, our appropriate technology unit that is involved in lifelong skills, where you can at least go and, learn about carpentry, masonry, welding and other stuff. So at the end of the day, when you graduated from that, as we said about that project that has generated about 1,900 plus jobs, those people will be very, very, useful for certain things. But if you are not able to have that place revitalized because of lack of funding, and we want to depend entirely on the outside world even for our domestic development, we will not go anywhere. For the past 50 years, this has been, the way of how government is handling, national development. But I think there is a need to change. There is a need to have change of the operations. We need to be empowered, and we also need to be, motivated to be able to do our work. There are a lot of things that the director has said and the other colleague has said, no need to repeat them. But it is you people who can help us to make government understand what DCD is doing. Because even if you are to, put it in percentage form, the government local funding, compared with what we are able to get from outsiders through our partnership-oriented relationships with them, is almost less than 10% of interventions in the communities. That is not very well telling of the government. So I think it is rather unfortunate to have leaders who are not development oriented. But it is people like you upon whom we can depend for them to also have a different view of how things are faring in the country. Because as he rightly said, the Honorable MP rightly said, if you are doing development and you claim to be at least producing results, and that is not to the betterment of the people, forget it, you are not doing anything. Am I not right? So in order to be able to do things that we feel, yes, we can, stand out boastful of ourselves of having done something, worthwhile for the people of the Gambia, cannot easily be done or cannot easily get done without massive government support. That's it. Government has to make sure if we spend, for example, let's say through our partnership and other things, we need 100 million, for example. It is no job. Government has to make sure if they are not able to put 50% of it, but they should be able to put 25 to 30% of it to see how best to salvage the people of the country. So without wasting much time, I need not dwell, on other things, but this is what I purposely want to have, have my voice added to, as far as this session is concerned. So I thank this August, select committee for paying attention to us and for inviting us here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. This is why we call you so that we can know some of your issues and to see how best we can work together to address that. If we address it, we are not addressing it for you, but it's for the Gambian people. And I think based on what Sonko was saying, community development, I think the reason why you are left behind because you are under a parent body, and that parent body is overwhelmed with different units. So I think just like other agencies are, I think community development should be given that, sort of an autonomy wherein status, wherein they can at least run certain things. Because right now, all of us,
But Chairman, I used this my ministry that
Mm.
even the name of the ministry
mm,
does not have community development on board.
is
Ministry of Lands, Regional
regional.
and Religious Affairs. So I
Yeah.
always said, where are we?
No, you rectify.
Yeah, so I think we still need to move forward, and if we really want to achieve our national development goal, because we're talking about national development.
Yeah.
So you cannot do that, and the community development is left behind. So basically, this is how it is, and I think I will leave my colleagues also to ask questions that they want to ask for any clarification or whatever answers you may have for them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Before he just come,
Okay.
just, for our benefit.
Yes.
The hard
The-
copy of the-
Yeah, please.
Yeah. If it is
The copy.
If it's not printed, then the secretary can give you flash to
Yeah.
finish.
Yes, please.
I will give it to.
A copy, yeah?
Okay,
The
good.
secretary.
Yes,
Good.
I have,
The media.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, Honorable Conte, you
Okay.
have something to say?
Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Director, Mr. Manjang, and the rest of the team. We are really delighted to meet you today. And we also want to take the opportunity to thank the department through the director with this presentation that we just did. It is elaborative, well put, and well articulated. Today we don't intend to prolong today's briefing because some of us are traveling, and also we are almost out of the time. So we will be very brief. It's just to commend you for the good work that you are doing. I always said, Gambia, we have great minds. We have great thinkers that can come up with great ideas, like that of the community development, looking at the structure and the activities and the plans that you have for the country. But our problem is always, this is cross-cutting across the board. Resources, lack of resources. It's rather unfortunate, as we all are crying. Yesterday we met with the governors, day before yesterday, last week we met with other departments. Everything is centered on lack of, resources and support from the government. And we come to realize that governments also, they are also somehow constant, because looking at even the budget that they are trying to put on, it's not like they have the cash in bulk seated there. This is based on, grants, tax that they collect. And they foresee this is what we are expected to generate this year. And this is how we intend to dispose it. But at the end of the day, sometimes some of the grants are not forthcoming, as expected. That's why, your allocations will be cut based on the resources that they collected. So this is why I think Gambia, we need to rethink as far as resource mobilization is concerned. And also empowering community development, I think, is a matter of must. Because suppressing community development, it's like you are suppressing the decentralization process of the entire country that we are committed to. So you cannot do well without decentralization. It's never possible. I think one of you mentioned it.
Yes.
And decentralization is key. You go to some countries, you'll see how governors are powerful, how they are involved in the development of that particular region. You see how councils, the chairmen, are also involved, how VDCs and all those things are working. But that is a different case. We have the structure, but the manpower sometimes is a problem because lack of capacity. They cannot be capacitized because there is no resources.
Sometimes we have people that are occupying positions also is a problem, as he has mentioned. So as a nation, we need to think, rethink, and also maybe sometimes it has to do with our attitudes also. Yes, Gambians, I'll take an example of myself. I want to be here because I think I need to represent the people. I don't care if I am able to do it or not. It's an example. Yeah. So this is rampant in the system. So we need to be fair, be honest to ourselves, know who can occupy what position. But it's all the same. Either you are qualified or you are not qualified. If you are not given the tools, you cannot do it. Yeah. Huh? So we need to think very well and see how best we can mobilize resources. Gambia, we are tax-based revenue collection. That's the only thing we have. What else can we do? How do we, utilize judiciously the little resources that we have to be able to prioritize